welcome. So we have everyone. Sky is actually calling in from New York too. Um, I am very excited to have Tucker with us. He talks a lot about personal branding and sales, and he really is like very tactical in a lot of the advice that he gives on LinkedIn. And as you guys know, we run these video sessions with leaders like Tucker and others that will actually break down some best practices that work in sales and marketing and help you guys to apply those to your job search. It's been going really well. We have people that are getting interviews out of some of the emails that we're writing. We have people getting jobs because of the way they went into the interviews prepared. We have people getting public shout outs through hiring managers actually applauding them for some of the effort that they're putting into their job search. So I'll kind of let Tucker take the lead. I just wanted to kind of introduce everyone just very quickly based on kind of what we know about them already. So Steph is really into content marketing. She's looking for a role that will help her continue to develop that. We took a look through Steph's LinkedIn in our intro call and just talked a little bit about how she might be able to position herself to do that. We also have Sky with us. Sky is kind of fresh graduate out of Binghamton. He did a 4-year program as an undergrad and then a 1-year program and got his MBA. And he's really into social media content as well, marketing. It'll be like an entry level kind of journey for him. So I think for Sky, it's really about like starting to figure out who he wants to be, who are the people that he's going to connect himself with, kind of how is he going to find out what he's really good at. And then Sarah just joined us. Sarah is a senior leader in partnership marketing. And as she mentioned, she's from the Miami area. We didn't actually have a chance to chat before this, but I would imagine that Sarah is looking for a similar kind of a role, either in the Miami area or remote. So if we can just kind of, try to give everyone their one-on-one-ish time with Tucker, we can open it up to conversation. But the idea here is for all of us to kind of learn how we can stand out. So with that, Tucker, why don't you maybe tell us like 2 or 3 things that you have found to be successful in your world and perhaps how those can be applied to the job search. And then I think each of Sarah, Sky, and Steph would be able to kind of benefit from actually doing that, maybe even live on the call.
I think at a high level for job search, mine has always been found through some sort of relationship, right? So like the first company that I joined, Sixture, I was our 16th employee, and I met the founders of the business, really the founder of the business, through one of my best friends. So he was working there. I connected with him quite a bit. He was continuously telling me about the business, and then started meeting with those guys more passively. And then it was like, okay, maybe there's an opportunity here. And then, I had another opportunity at a company called Socio, where I was a very early employee, and did the same thing, where it wasn't putting in an application. It wasn't. It was just conversations that led to full-time employment. And then I actually met the founder and CEO of Captroy through LinkedIn. So we just got together for coffee one time, and then it was like, okay, I'm kind of ready to make a transition. And now I'm in more of a leadership role here at an early stage startup that I think is positioned to kind of go through the roof. So I think, relationships always win. So any relationship that you have can really be very valuable long term. You never know where that's going to take you. So, just connecting with folks on LinkedIn, providing them value in general, you never know where that's going to come in the future.
So before you go into how it would apply to a job search, I actually think the person that might be able to benefit from this the most is Sky. So Sky is coming out of undergrad. I'm sure he has some great relationships with, his classmates, and maybe has made some relationships in the industry that he wants to work in, but he's really starting from scratch and has, under 100 connections on LinkedIn. I haven't checked, not to call him out, but it's very common that college students aren't that active on LinkedIn. So how can someone like Sky apply this to his job search when he doesn't really have a network built in yet?
Yeah, I love that. So Sky, what type of role are you looking for? It's like entry level content marketing or maybe sales marketing?
Yeah, something along those lines. Like, I'm not too specific in what I'm trying to do, but I've had roles where I was in like a sales type or marketing, like content kind of role. So like honestly, at this point, it's really getting my foot in the door. So kind of anything to like lay the foundation along those lines would be like applicable.
Yeah, so I would say step one is get specific. Like know where you want to go. So and you can say, hey, I want to be in content marketing. Hey, I want to be a BDR. Hey, I want to do this thing. But like when I go look for a job, right? It's like this is who I am. This is why this company aligns with me, and this is why I'm going to crush this position right here. And like
Hmm.
just like so, if I'm reaching out to a CMO or a VP of marketing at a tech company, it's not like, hey, blanket statement here to you. It's like, hey, I read your LinkedIn profile. Hey, I saw you were posting about diversity and inclusion. Hey, I saw you managed XYZ, and this is your value prop. And then I'm going to talk to that. I'm going to talk to that person and talk to that company directly, instead of as wide of a net. So I think there's a lot of opportunity right now to go apply to a bunch of jobs. I would narrow the focus as much as possible and say, like, this company aligns with my values here. This is why I'm going to crush this specific position. And then find your way into that organization on who the right person is to talk to. So go connect with a lower level salesperson, say, hey, Sky, I'm trying to learn about the business development rep position. Thought you may be able to provide me that through a LinkedIn connection. And then ask that person, like, who's the hiring manager at this company? What do they like? How did you get your role there? What do you like? What do you not like about the company? And really take a targeted approach to break into that company, because you only need like 5 or 10 companies to look at, really, if you think about it, or less if you're going to just close one of them. So I would get highly specific with it, as specific
Hmm.
as you can get. Do your research on the person that you want to talk to at that company and the company itself. Like, go read their 10K, go read go listen to podcasts from their head of leadership, um, and get to know it well. So that would be like my overarching thoughts there for Sky.
Love
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So like the first message you might send out to somebody, like LinkedIn is a great way to connect. There's like 1% of 1% people using it like really well. So I'd say, hi BDR or hi talent manager, whoever it is, looking to connect with whatever type of leadership they're in this space, whatever space they're in. Also saw you did XYZ, put that in their whatever is in their profile, would love to connect and learn from you. And then right after they connect with you, go do a little bit more research. And like on your phone, you can do a mobile voicemail via LinkedIn or a mobile video, and basically like say, hey, Sarah, I was looking through your profile. Looks like you crushed it at Univision Corporation, and you did X, Y, and Z. I think that's incredible. I'm always looking to learn from leaders like yourself, and would be really curious to pick your brain on what's been successful for you. So if you look
Hmm.
at Cialdini's 6 principles for persuasion, those are really, really helpful on anything you're trying to do in life, whether it's get a job, sell somebody something. So a compliment always helps. Things like social proof always help. And I think I would use those in the job search as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. No, that makes a ton of sense. So part of what you mentioned is like obviously going deeper, not necessarily like casting such a wide net when you're doing your job outreach, and adding value up front. So again, kind of with Sky and also with Stephanie, in terms of like having a very specific idea of what they're going after, like where can you get some of that content? Like what if, Sky, for example, again, not to necessarily put him on the spot, hasn't necessarily done a lot of the jobs that he's going into. And I think a lot of people are in that position. And a lot of people are even, coming from hospitality and going in, or coming from another area and just starting their journey in sales or marketing. So where do you get like those? How do you add value when you don't really have a lot of experience?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, anybody who's done something one day has done it much longer than somebody who's done it 0 days. Whether it's job search, whether it's business development, content marketing, sales, project management, we all have a voice and we all have value that we can provide. One of the things you can do as well is start doing like surveys. So like go to top sales marketing leaders and create a survey and like find some sort of content that you can create to provide value. So if it's like, hey, I'm going to go to 50 sales marketing leaders and survey them on what makes them great. Okay, now I can not only build a conversation that way with these people who I might want to get a job from, but I can also then compile that data and then give it out to the community. So when I'm reaching out to people, I have something to give to them. So post like anything that you're learning day to day. Hey, job search day 3. This is what I learned today. Like that's much farther ahead than job search day 1. Hey, I've been surveying sales and marketing leaders, and this is what I'm hearing as a trend. Thought it might be valuable. Like, and then pose a question back. Like, what is everybody else hearing right now? I'd love to hear from them. You know, there's people like I wouldn't recommend doing this at scale, but you know, there's people probably in your network that you know may like that. So hey, I just posted this thing. Would you care to share your thoughts on that? I wouldn't just spam everybody on your LinkedIn saying something like that, but you know, you can have some folks like go comment on that thing and give you some feedback. If you start having conversations with folks, you know, again, like a really personalized message that's more about the individual, because like what you have to recognize is these people and leadership, they're still human beings and they still crave like attention. They still crave like if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like self-actualization and self-esteem are at the very top. If you can make them feel like they're there, like, hey, like Sarah, you are an incredible human being. You know, you've done X, Y, and Z. I think it's so cool. I'm really impressed by that. You know, I'm really trying to learn during this time and just get better. Would you be open to 15 minutes where I could pick your brain? You know, if not, keep doing great things. You're incredible, and have a great weekend. Like something as simple as that. And you start doing that enough, you're gonna like you're just going to keep leveling up every day. And then, you know, if you're having conversations or starting any kind of survey or, you know, finding out things on LinkedIn and compiling it, you're just going to keep growing a little bit every day. There's like, if you're going into project management or business development or content marketing and you want to go do that for a company, go do it for the company before they hire you. So let's say like I'm trying to break into Buck AI, which is, you know, Haithem's company. And I wanted to be a content marketer for Buck AI. Well, I'm going to go to Buck AI. I'm going to read all about it. It's intelligent process automation software. And then I'm going to go create a piece of content around that. And I'm going to do a 2-page PDF on 5 ways that you can create intelligent process and automation, and then brand it with their branding, and then send it to their head of content and say, hey, you know, I saw this piece of content that I thought would be helpful for you. I just went and created it. Let me know your thoughts. It may be terrible, but I thought it could be helpful. Like if that person doesn't start a conversation with you, then many different things I could say there will just keep moving. Like that it should start a conversation. Business development, like I would go land a meeting if I could. I'd go into my network and find somebody who could use Buck AI software and just say, hey, Sky, you know, I saw your title was XYZ. You're directly responsible for process automation. I found this really cool startup called Buck AI. You know, I thought you may be able to check it out. I'm just trying to help leaders as I have some free time right now. Let me know your thoughts there. And then like if you can set a meeting for that company and then go to the hiring manager and said, hey, I already booked 2 demos for you. Don't even worry about that. But I'd love to have a conversation and see if there's any way I can do this full time for you. I think that's a great way to hack. If there's some sort of project that you see could be done for a company very quickly, go try and do it ahead of time. Again, narrow your search and focus on an individual and the company values, and kind of drive it that way.
Ooh, I love that. I'm trying not to make sounds while you're talking to not mess up the recording, but I'm actually like jumping up and down and wooing on stage right now. This is awesome. Love it. I love it. And I'm just gonna summarize a little bit because I think you hit on some like very, very, very important points. So it started off with what does somebody do when they don't necessarily have a lot of experience in the area that they're going to look for, right? But you have to come to the table with insights. Ask, right? Just ask. right? And in Tucker's, example, it was putting out a survey, right? You could send out some email messages. You could package it up into a cool like Q&A video series where you host people that are leaders in the companies that you want to work for, and then just ask them a bunch of questions, right? Like find your way to those answers just by something as simple as asking. The other thing that Tucker mentioned, which I think a lot of people struggle with, is like, I don't have necessarily a lot to say, or everyone else has better things, quote unquote, to say than I do, right? Why is my perspective going to be unique? You don't necessarily always need to just post tips and tricks and things like that. Like you could take third party content, dive into it, assess it, don't just reshare all the time. Like you don't want to necessarily do that, but you can add your perspective to other things that are going on in the market around you, right? You can be someone like Tucker mentioned who just talks about their own journey and lets others learn through that. Like this is my first day on the job hunt. This is what I did. This is what I learned. This is how I got burned, et cetera, right? I went to this, huddle video session. These are some of my key takeaways. Like these are things that you guys are doing on a daily basis that you can write about, and you'd be surprised who's actually watching and going to learn from that. Obviously, everyone loves a compliment, right? And like the best thing you can do is go in and just reference something that they wrote. Like first party content is always going to have like the highest conversion rate generally. So if you kind of like send them a message, like for example, like Sarah, if I sent you a message that was like looking for a role in marketing, or I want to work with you on such and such position, like something that's like, I want this for myself, or this is something that I'm looking for to benefit me, versus if I sent you a message that said, Sarah, that blog post about tips and tricks for marketers that want to stand out in a tough environment really hit the nail on the head. This is the direct quote that I love, blah, blah, blah. Sarah, your leadership on the like top 40 marketers in the South, East, really caught my attention, blah, blah, blah. Like you're going to probably pay attention to that subject line and that opening versus, hey, learn more about me, learn more about me. So lead with gratitude, self-actualization, self-esteem, kind of hit it right on the head. Like everybody wants to be complimented. Everybody wants to be validated. They didn't ask for it, but they'll take it, right? And then do the job before doing it, right? Like if you want to be a BDR, then be a BDR. Like the number of BDRs that are just sending applications is insane. Like how are you not putting your prospects in a outreach or a reply or interstellar.io cadence and then sending 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 messages to them over a 6 to 8 week period, adding value and sharing some of these things that you're learning, right? If it takes 7 or 8 times to get someone's attention, why aren't we applying that to the job search? So you want to be a content marketer, be a content marketer. You want to be an SDR, be an SDR, right? You want to be in partnership marketing, come to the table with partnerships right off the bat that you're going to be able to just hit the ground running and make their life easier. Like these are all like hitting the nail right on the head. Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself a bit? Kind of tell us like how have things been going? What's working? What's not working? Are some of the, I know you're probably doing a lot of these things naturally because you are kind of in the world. So would love to hear your perspective and any questions that you might have for Tucker.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for your time. I've had 13 years of experience working in media and the broadcast industry. I'm currently getting my MBA, and I'm specializing in entrepreneurship and innovation. I was let go about 2 months ago due to COVID. I was working at Univision, but I have a background working with ESPN, MTV, Travel Channel. So I'm using my experience in media to kind of channel my inner, I guess, content marketer, So in my undergrad, I studied at Baylor University, and I got my undergrad in digital media. So this is kind of already innate to me. It's been a little weird that people just recently, a couple of years ago, started kind of picking up on the content media, and to me it was like, that's what I do for a living. So for me it's been kind of weird because a lot of people are trying to learn, and while people are trying to learn, it's like I already know. So it's you would think it would be a good thing, but it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because it's like, no, I shouldn't be doing this for free. This is what I do for a living. So recently, since my layoff, I'm like, I got to use this, you know. However, I've been wanting to create more content. They say that if you create video content on LinkedIn, you get 5 times more views. And if you add captions to it, even more. So that's where I stand right now, kind of trying to push myself to get myself on camera, people to see me. It's a little bit embarrassing. You know, it's like I've been more in the back end. I like taking pictures of people. I like interviewing people. I don't like to be that person in front of the camera saying, hey, I'm an expert in this. Do this, you know? So I'm kind of pushing myself through that threshold. And as I said earlier, I'm specializing in an entrepreneurship. So I'm kind of in between going back into the workforce and looking for a job in partnership marketing or alliance management. I do want to work in the tech industry. Right now, we've seen that the tech industry has seen, I guess it's not recession proof, but this time around it has been recession proof. You haven't seen, there's been a rise in tech. So that's why I kind of want to get into it. Either that or start my own venture. So that's where I stand right now.
I love it. I love it. That's super helpful. And you've got a ton of awesome experience already. Sorry, I'm drinking hot coffee. I need to take my jacket off. The background is awesome. I mean, you've done it before and you've done it with big brands. Like I definitely like checked out your LinkedIn before this. You know, your clients and partners that you've worked with is amazing. So I would just think about like, hey, what's the best way that I can market myself right now? So like if I was applying to a job where it was like news and media, I would go like make like a video that's like breaking news. Univision has just hired Sarah, and it's like this little thing that you put together about you getting hired at this company, like right, like some sort of video like that. I could, you know, you could go create 10 of those for 10 companies that you like, and create a piece of collateral around this like fake news press that like you got hired by this company. I think that would be really cool. I think anybody in, you know, the partnership space or anybody in the alliances space that you would want to go just interview and learn from, I think it's super smart because one, you're going to start hearing the language, you're going to get a ton of insights, and then like you could turn around and be like, hey, that was a great interview. I'd love to work for you. That's pretty direct there, but you understand what I'm saying. And then yeah, any of the content creation that you can start to do ahead of time, whether it's branding yourself or, you know, branding somebody else's business for them, shows like a ton of initiative and shows like, hey, here's real work that would directly correlate to that position. I think would be ingenious.
Good idea. I like that you thought of this on the fly. I've been like sitting down thinking about this for the past 3 months, and I just tell you my story, and you're like on the fly, like, oh, you can do this. I'm like,
Well,
I mean, you painted this story for me. I think, you know, like great sales and great marketing people just listen and then apply what they've heard and just say, you know, this would be a fit for you. I think you've got all the experience in the world. I mean, based on what you've done before, now it's just go reapplying it and positioning that to be successful in the future. So, and just as far as like telling your own story goes, like I would read a book called Building a Story Brand. I think selling with a story is so important. Like if you go look at a lot of my posts that get engagement, a lot of them are about like my journey. And it always, like any good sales pitch, any good story starts with pain, positioning, and then product. What was the struggle? How did I position it? How did I solve it? And then what happened because of that? And what did I learn? You can repeat that play over and over and over again, whether it's in content marketing, it's in a personal story, or it's a sales pitch. Like, hey, there's this crazy world where before Sarah Sweeney, you couldn't solve this problem. And then insert Sarah Sweeney into the mix. And afterwards, you've got this bright, sunny future. It's like they're in the middle of a storm. You pull away the clouds, and now you're in this happy place. However you can paint that picture for people, whether it's hiring, sales, whatever it may be, that's kind of the walk that I like to put people through. And, you know, if you can put folks in your shoes in that journey that you've had previously, like that's, you're not like buying is subconscious. People are emotional. You reach a new level with that kind of talk track.
love that. Yeah, and you have a kind of advantage because you are a storyteller and you understand how to use media to tell a story. So do it. So
Exactly.
a couple of things that Sarah mentioned and then Tucker that I thought were really interesting. You mentioned that you already know a lot of these things are important, and a lot of times, like when you go in, like not only are you like selling yourself, but you also kind of have to like sell your position in a way. Like whoever's hiring you might not necessarily be that gung ho about bringing on someone that tackles this, or that might not be their favorite strategy in the world that they think is going to pay off. And that's a really challenging place to be. And it's very similar in a sales situation where your customer is not that educated about your product, or you are taking a different approach. You know, you're quote unquote innovative, which is not always, innovative means risky, right? And integrated means complicated. It's not necessarily like these buzzwords are necessarily like great things on like they sound on paper, but you're gonna have early adopters just like in any market. You're gonna find jobs where their leadership is very bullish on these things, and you want to lean in to those opportunities. You know, if I were you, I would be filtering out a lot of the companies that don't meet your ICP, your ideal customer profile, right?
Mhm.
Especially in a market like this, you have to be laser focused on your ideal customer profile. That's it. And you have to, just as much as you know who you are going after, you have to know who you're not going after. So
Yep.
I would try and lean into your strengths, lean into people that already resonate. If you're 3 months, 6 months from now and you're like, or you want to go 80-20 and 80% of the market is your, or you don't find them any, sure, you can like diversify. But what I would say is like spend the majority of your time on those early adopters, lean into your strengths, don't go crazy trying to like fix weaknesses, learn coding, this and that. Like just do what you do best and like let that shine through. And you mentioned video as being a really great way to do that. And it is embarrassing, right? And it is a lot of the driving force behind why we're doing these videos, because we're kind of like holding you guys accountable, giving you a platform, and really like helping you create this content that you're now going to have and be able to share with some of your prospects, right? I have a question for Tucker related to something else that Sarah said, which is you are kind of 1 foot in. I want to get a job. I like the stability. I need to get into a place where I feel like I'm part of a team, etc. On the other side, you're an entrepreneur. You want to kind of start your own thing. Like you really want that sort of like freedom, and you know you can do it. On your LinkedIn and in the content that you post and in the activities that you're doing every single day, are you on the side of I need to go get a job? Are you on the side of I want to be an entrepreneur? Tucker, in your mind, you've hired a lot of sales and marketing people, and I know that a big filter for you is like this person has started a company 4 or 5 times. Are they really gonna be good at being in a job, or vice versa? This person has only been at big companies. If I throw them into my scrappy startup environment, are they actually going to be able to be held accountable? So like, what should Sarah take a stance either way publicly, Tucker, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there's two sides of the coin there, right? Because like one earlier, I was like, yeah, you need to get highly specific and kind of know where you want to be. But at the same time, like for me, and I think a lot of other sales marketing leaders that I've seen post about this have been like, I like to see somebody who's like entrepreneurial on the side. I've had a conversation. I had one last week with a CMO who took a company from 0 to 10 million in ARR in 2 years. And she's like, I don't hire anybody that's not doing something on the side, whether it's a podcast, it's content creation, it's something. Because the startup environment is like, okay, you see a problem, like don't go sound the alarm, just go fix it. Like go do it. So if it's like a piece of content that needs to be created, go do that. If it's a process that needs changed, you got to do that. If it's hopping in and closing a deal and you're a VP, like you need to do that. Like that's it's one band, one sound kind of thing. So I don't know. It's difficult though, because you pour yourself into two things and it's really hard. Like I'm at the same time a VP at a startup. I'm the CEO of a company that we're building a software application right now. And if I had anything else on my plate, I would go crazy. And it's just sometimes you put a little bit here and you put a little bit there, and you have to know your balance. And when you're doing too much, I think in software startups, it's easy to burn out really quickly. So you got to know you and know what you're capable of, and then try and provide as much value as you can. But you know, when you're juggling a lot of things, time management is super important. So figuring out what that looks like for you is super key.
I actually have a little bit of a follow-up. Let me know what you think about this. So you said, for example, a lot of your colleagues will say, I don't hire someone that isn't entrepreneurial and isn't doing something on the side, right? That's a very like absolute statement, right? And there's other people that say, I would never hire someone that has something on the side. I need someone that's going to be all in on this. Do you agree that people typically fall in either one of those two buckets, and there aren't that many hiring managers that are kind of like, I'm cool either way?
It's a really good question, and you know, I think it really depends on the leader. But for me, like, I'd rather know that like you care about something outside of work than just like, okay, 9 to 5, and then I go home and I'm off, and then I eat dinner and I play video games, or I go fish, or whatever you like to do. But it's like, I want somebody who's gonna, like, if something needs to be done in the business, to go help me with that and just do it. And for those folks who are like simultaneously doing something themselves outside of work, like, they're probably more geared to like, okay, I'm just going to jump in at 8:30 on a Friday and like get this thing done that needs to be done. So, and they know how to start something. So if it's like, hey, this process needs to be built from the ground up, that like, the CEO and our C-suite just don't have time for. It's like, okay, they've started something before. They might know how to do that, and get that off the ground very quickly. So I think it shows a lot of promise and potential. But yeah, you will find some people that are like, nah, like, we want them just doing this one thing, and that's cool too. But I think as we shift, especially to more of like a gig economy, I think you're going to see a lot of people doing a lot of things, and providing a lot of different value when they come to a company.
I like that. So I think, like, going a little bit of a step deeper, and Tucker, you can kind of let me know if you disagree, but I think for candidates, I would just recognize that sort of like perception or preference is there, and take it into account when you're doing your targeting and when you're doing your messaging, right? It's not just, I want to work at a media company, or I want to work for this company, or I want to work in this like, those are like basic level filters. If to really go deeper on like standing out from the 300 other people that maybe applied to that job, like, you really need to get like as deep as you can into what's going on in their minds day to day. So let's say you had a total, like Tucker mentioned, you don't need 200 companies, maybe you have 10, right? I would split them. I would go 5 and 5, right? I would go into all of their leadership profiles. Who's the head of sales? Who's the head of marketing, right? Who are the people that are going to kind of be in your world? Do they have side hustles? Do they have side gigs? Are they entrepreneurial? Are they someone who, this, that, and everything, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that the company is going to continue hiring that way. And, you drew the time when they said, oh, everyone on our team now, all of a sudden, we're not looking for entrepreneurial anymore. Now we need some structure. Uber did that a few years ago. They were like, we want entrepreneurial. And then all of a sudden in like 2015, they were like, no more entrepreneurial. We need corporate people. And they switched publicly, almost like you can see the culture shift. You know what I mean? And we all know the story and ended up happening. But I would start thinking about your prospective employers in that way and tailor your messaging. I know that you usually hire people that are entrepreneurial. I'm entrepreneurial too. These are some of the things I've done, right? I know that you don't usually hire people that are entrepreneurial. This is why, and just address that objection up front, because they might be thinking it, right? And like basically write different messages based on how they might perceive that, because that's sometimes it's a deal breaker, and you just want to like get rid of as many of those kinds of deal breakers up front as you can.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like objection handling before you even get the objection. Go find out what that might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, just doing your research ahead of time. I think you nailed it there, Haithem.
Love it. So Steph, You, I know, are in Vancouver and you're kind of looking for something that's in that area or remote, right? And luckily, there are a lot more remote opportunities. You also mentioned that you're doing some freelancing, you've taken some courses and things like that. This comes up a lot with some of our candidates where they have like a part-time consulting gig, or they have a client, or they have like, their personal, business that they either were running before or they just started running now because they were laid off. How does someone adjust to that when all of a sudden you're looking for a job and it's like, I can't necessarily look like a consultant, or that I have my own? How do they don't know how big my business is. They might think I'm like the president of a huge company, and why am I, it doesn't make sense that I'm looking for a job. Like, how do you kind of balance, like, I need clients, but I'm also looking for a job?
Well, for me, I'm actually working through a company. So I have a really good working relationship with the account manager, and she just kind of checks in, sees how I'm doing, and hands me clients as needed. Um, and yeah, it's never been too much. I'm also working with an agency out of New York, and they send me just a couple things per month. I can generally predict when it's happening. It tends to be the middle 2 weeks of the month that I'm getting most of my contracts. So then throughout the downtime, I'm job searching, I'm leveling up my skills, and just trying to take advantage of that free time as much as possible to learn more and get myself out there. So that really helps. Yeah, and I'm writing my own blog and just trying to stay on top of all those things.
I like that. Work through an agency, kind of work through a partner, and like, or a partnership, or have some like referral kind of partnership where you don't necessarily have to be the one that's front and center, like bringing in business for yourself. That's kind of nice. Tucker, have you had that experience yourself, or how have your like maybe colleagues or someone in your network handled like, I got laid off. I need to keep the lights on. I'm gonna like get clients in between. So I need to like make sure I'm active on LinkedIn from a consultant standpoint, but I also need a job and I want to show someone that I'm willing to go all in. Like, how do you attack that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I would say again, probably just like know who your audience is. So if you've done work for one person, go find another person that's very much like that. So if you've worked with company XYZ, what are their 10 competitors? That's a great place to start and say, hey, I'm doing work for X. I thought you may want to do this. I'm providing value proposition here to those clients, and would love to explore and see a way that I could help. Here's an example of my work here. One of the other things that I would do as well is, so like if I just search like tech companies in Vancouver, it actually, the first thing that pops up is 10 top Vancouver tech companies hiring in 2020. And then what I would go do is go search their head of content. So like very quickly, I just found this guy, James Mulvey, head of content at Hootsuite. He just posted about social media spending increasing 74% to historic levels. I can go to his profile, read all about him. I could probably check his Twitter and see like he's probably tweeting about, I don't know, Oreos, champagne, something that he likes. And then send him a message about social media and Oreos and how I like those things, and and just start a conversation with him there. If it's something that's like super personal, he's much more likely to respond to that. Again, he's a human being at a company, so I would just go about it that way. Like that's the only person you need to talk to, and I did that research in 30 seconds there, and then yeah, I would just narrow your search that way. So give that a shot with as many companies as you can, and yeah, if you can find any like email automation, like Hunter.io is free data. You could probably find his like cell phone number. You could probably find his like email and just start sending him emails, or like connect with him on LinkedIn, voicemail, video on LinkedIn. I don't know, maybe you'll find some people that love Marvel as well, Steph, and you can like, hey, take a picture with that. I do that stuff all the time where I see you like this, I like this too, we should be friends.
Tucker, how did you Google again? What words did you use?
So what I did is I essentially went to tech companies in Vancouver, right? And so like I know Hootsuite. So then all I did was I typed in head of content, and I can't spell right now. My brain is just not working. Okay. So then I found, all right, James Mulvey. There's also like another head of content here and a bunch of heads of content that I might want to start prospecting. And then I pop into his profile. That's a really cool picture. I might comment on that. It's pretty cool. He's got some posts. I check out his experience. Oh, he went to University of Victoria. I might go find out who their mascot is and say that in my opening message. I'd go to his posts. Oh, he tweeted this graphic out. That's super interesting. He's talking about industry trends. Looks like they're hiring. He just posted that 15 hours ago. That's really great. They posted a CMO survey. Any of that stuff I can talk to. If I was to go to his Twitter, so let's just go to his Twitter and go to James Mulvey. So I'm going to go to his Twitter real quick. See what his last. He talks a lot about data. He's definitely a content person. What does it say in here? Work for Google. Sometimes they'll have like a little tag in here. Looks like he's having a stare off with his dog. I could say something about that I won a staring contest with my dog last week. It looks like you did the same thing. How did that work for you? Who blinked first? Something like that in a video. He would definitely like laugh at that. And then just start sending him messages about that every day. I might go create like an infographic out of some of the data that he's created via Canva and just send that over to him and say, hey, like I found this data super interesting. I thought you might want to use this graphic on one of your next posts. Could be really helpful. He's gonna be like, whoa, that's like nobody's ever done that for me before. So I would just take that approach with people at companies and narrow your search as much as possible. And then for competitors to your current clients, great place to start. Hey, I've done content for an information security company. There's 100 of those out there, and I now have a reason to reach out to them.
Funny you say that about the Canva infographic. I started doing that with people I've worked for in the past. I forgot what it's called, the banner, the LinkedIn banner. So what I started doing is I started creating people I've worked for. I saw that they didn't have LinkedIn banners. So what does an entrepreneur do? Find a problem, find a solution. So I went to them. So it's been really cool. So I've had free content posted on my behalf because I reached out to them. Hey, you're a marketing strategist. I created this for you with your name, your picture, and they loved it. And it's been on Twitter as well, so they've retweeted it and stuff. So really good idea.
That's
what you
awesome.
said about the Canva.
I love that.
Yep.
Again, I didn't want to woo on stage and scream in the background, but I'm like, yes. That's awesome. There you go. You saw a problem, you fixed it. I don't know if you guys follow Josh Braun at all, but I saw like a funny or not funny. It was actually very interesting, and I was really happy to see it. Someone basically had reached out to him. I don't know if you guys saw it. I can send you the link, but they went through his YouTube and they found that he wasn't necessarily using playlists properly, and he kind of like did this personalized video through Loom, and he was like, move this here, you can move this here, you can do all of this, and he basically spent like a few minutes basically showing Josh the steps for how to do it, and at the end he was like, or you could hire me and I'll do it for you. And Josh was like, hell yeah, I'm going to hire you. I'm not doing that. And you're right. Like he pointed out that, there were certain, like series that Josh is doing. Like I Teach My Wife Sales is one that he does. That's really interesting. And when you go on YouTube, it was random. It was like one episode was I Teach My Wife Sales. The other one was like some other thing that he said. Another one was another. He didn't really like organize it properly. And this guy was able to illuminate that on video to Josh. And he was probably one of 300 people that probably reached out to Josh that day because he probably gets that many messages. And this guy actually was able to get a job out of it. So I love that, Sarah. That's like a very easy kind of like hack for sure.
Stephanie, Josh Braun's awesome, and his messaging is really, really good.
Yeah,
super personal. And then at the end, it's like passive. Like, would you be open to connecting? Would you be interested in a conversation? Would it be a terrible idea for us to chat? Like,
right.
Hey, can I have 30 minutes on your calendar to sell you something? Like 98% of reps are doing that, and people are doing that.
It's a little bit of reverse psychology, so I like that. Would it be that bad to chat? So it's cool. Good idea.
Yep.
Go read Never Split the Difference by Christopher Voss.
Oh yeah, that's on my list.
It will change your life. Sky, Steph, Sarah, any questions before we let Tucker change into the clothes that he wants to be wearing versus his picture day clothes?
He has a Superman underneath.
He's like, "Where's my PJs?" we are going to follow up with you guys, and we're going to start kind of pinging you to do some of these things. But what are like one or two things that you're thinking you're going to do? Sarah, go.
Right now, I'm gonna go on Canvas and create graphics for people and offer them out to people I don't know, because so far I've done it for people I know. So I'm gonna step out of my comfort zone and offer it to someone that maybe may need it on their profile and provide it to them at no cost.
Hell yeah, love it. Give before you ask. Steph, what do you got?
I'm going to go do some more deep dives and research different companies on LinkedIn and their heads of content.
Love it. Very, very actionable and specific. Sky.
I'm gonna narrow my job search into something what I really want to do in a specific sense, and just kind of tailor my LinkedIn to targeting those types of firms and people.
Amazing. Very nice. Yes. Get as specific as you can. They should be able to spend the 6 seconds just browsing and being like, cool, I know what this guy or girl is all about, and kind of pass that test, and then you go in deeper. I love it. Thank you guys. Very nice session. And Tucker, have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been great. We've been following you, as you can see, for a while. We actually featured Tucker's personal branding ebook last week. If you guys, I can send out the link again to that if you guys want to check it out.
Sure.
Continue to follow him, and we'll hopefully get this done together.
Looking forward to your content,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Likewise.
Yep.
Bye.